Hey, I'm Rusty.
And I'm Heather.
And we're the Bryants, and this is the Redeemed Marriage Podcast.
We are here to encourage healthy marriages, strengthen wounded marriages, and begin the process of restoration to broken marriages.
We aren't licensed counselors, but we are a redeemed couple that loves the Lord and wants to help you journey through this messy, challenging, and fun part of life called marriage. Welcome back to another episode of the Redeemed Marriage Podcast. This is Rusty and Heather Bryant back for another week and another episode on marriage, and we have had quite the weekend.
Quite the weekend.
Yeah, so, we tell you guys all the time that we're just real life with you and just raw and open and honest, and man, this could not be any more real life than what we're going to talk about today, because real life is what happened to us today, as a matter of fact. So go ahead, you can summarize the day.
Just the day, or you want the whole weekend?
Yeah, well, go for it.
Well, we did have a roller coaster weekend because we got to go to Destin with our youngest. He was in a soccer tournament there.
About 5 hours away from us.
5 hours away. Went down to Destin. Super pumped about being there because it is the beach is just my favorite place to be. And Rusty was just amazing. He found me 2 hours in between games that I got to go and just lay on the beach and read a book and listen to the waves. It was amazing. And he didn't really love the beach, but he was a trooper and made that happen for me. And I was just on cloud nine, just loving it. Enjoyed time with our family and with some players and their families that were on the team. Anyway, fast forward to today. We had a very early game at 8 o'clock. Had to be there at 7:30, and we're going to hit the road immediately afterwards to head back and have a little time here before the week began. Well, we were about 10 minutes into the game, and our youngest, Logan, was going after a ball. He actually won the ball, and then this kid just creamed him. Side note, we weren't supposed to be in this tournament. It was supposed to be another team, an older team, but they couldn't go, so we went in and decided to take their place. And so we have 15 and 16-year-olds. 15-year-olds, 9th and 10th graders, playing against these big, 18-year-olds. Anyway, long story short, this 18-year-old just crushed him, and then he rolled and immediately popped up and was like, "I broke my collarbone." And I was like, "Get over there." So Rusty went across the field, or around the field, and the coach was calling for the trainer, and it was very obviously broken. So the trainer puts him in a sling just to get us to the ER. We get to the ER, they x-ray it, look at the x-rays, and of course it was broken, but they told us it wasn't what they call a green stick break. That if you have a green stick break, it's like trying to break a healthy stick. It just won't break all the way. It's just kind of, partially
shredded a little bit.
Shredded a little bit. But instead it was broken and displaced about 3 centimeters. And it genuinely looks like it's about to come through the skin. Like it's just nasty looking. So they gave us some pain meds and said we needed to see an orthopedic because he did need surgery. So we have an appointment this week to see an orthopedic on Tuesday and probably surgery on Wednesday. And so then we had to drive back 5 hours.
5 long hours.
With him, and just felt every bump, and my mama heart was just breaking for him. But we got home, he's on the sofa, pain meds are are in full effect. We even got him a partial bath.
Yeah.
Rusty did that, and he's on the sofa, and hopefully we'll make it until surgery day.
So we're not.
Oh, but before you go into that, the other high was our oldest child.
That's
While
right.
we were going through all of that, our oldest child was in North Carolina getting baptized at his church there, just as a recommitment and just a washing away of some old and birth to some new. And what God's doing in his life now, and just a beautiful thing that happened there. So roller coaster, up, down, up, down, up, down,
Yeah.
all weekend.
Yeah, and this is, like I said, it's real life, and so when things like this happen, we're not just coming to just air all of our dirty and clean laundry, I guess. But there's something there, and I thought about it a lot today as we were driving back on that long drive, because that was not how we were planning for the weekend to end, and it certainly isn't what we were planning for the next week or so, or
Sure.
for that matter, the next several weeks for dealing with this. And I just started thinking about how, when life just throws you a curveball, and man, we've had quite a few of those in our marriage, and you look back on it and you look and like today, thinking about the curveball that we got, because there's a lot to it. You've got, it's going to disrupt Logan and his school for his last few weeks of school. It's going to disrupt work schedules. It's going to, obviously there's financial parts to it. It's just, there's a lot to it. And so, but I think that the things that you go through leading up to the curveballs, they kind of dictate how you're going to respond and react as a married couple,
Sure.
and individually. My thought kept going back to, I think we've probably said this before, but 10 years ago, before our marriage crisis, I just felt like nothing bad had ever happened to us. And I even voiced the words one time to a group of men that I was in a Bible study with, that we were talking about being ambushed by Satan. And I actually said the words, I don't know that I've ever been ambushed. And then it was literally about a week later, when you confessed to me that you had been unfaithful. And that phrase, the very next day, I actually texted a pastor friend of mine, because I just didn't know who to tell. And that was the word that I used. I said, life has thrown me a curveball, and I need somebody to talk to. And so, I think that, man, they just come, life just comes at us from all sorts of angles and all different things. And it may be, something in your marriage. It may be something with your children. It may be a medical diagnosis. It could be a job, a loss of a job. There's so much that happens. And when it happens, you have a choice. And especially when it comes to you and your spouse and marriage, it's, the choice is, how are we going to deal with this, and how are we going to handle this together? And what are we going to do? And how are we going to react to it? And so, when I rewind things back to 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago, I was able to react individually because of a foundation that had been laid in my faith, and just how I was able to, there was a strong foundation of, okay, can we make it through this? But then, believe it or not, we had the choice then to walk through that together. And how are we going to do that together? And then I fast forward to 5 years after that, and you were diagnosed with cancer. I would say that's a curveball, right?
You think?
And so, and we've said this before, but because of what we walked through together, as hard as it was, 5 years before that, then we hit cancer, and it was kind of like, okay,
We this.
we got this,
Mm-hmm.
and since then, we've dealt with other things. I mean, we've had tons of medical injuries that our children have been through that have been heartbreaking.
Sure.
I mean, crushing, and scary at the same time. And today was no different from
That's
that.
right.
So, just thinking about how do you do that, and how do you do that walking together, because it's so easy to let the stress and the anxiety and the unknown kind of get to you, even to a point where you can kind of be pitted against each other.
Sure. Yeah. One of the things that I was thinking about today as we were traveling is how I can hear people saying, yeah, but y'all been married 25 years, but it doesn't matter how long you've been married. We work so well as a team. And it comes from knowing each other's strengths and encouraging those strengths, and then also knowing each other's weaknesses and being okay with those weaknesses. We work together so well as far as knowing what we are both good at, knowing what our kids respond the best to. When Logan got hurt, he wanted you. That's what he wanted, because you're the soccer guy, you're the, you know what to do, you're the leader. And, when he was standing on the other side of the field waving us over, he was waving you over, he knows that you're good at that. And I know that you're good at that. That I don't handle seeing them in pain very well. So you sat in the back seat with him and let me drive, because I enjoy, I needed to be in control of that car, not hitting potholes,
Yep.
and you could handle him, hurting, and you stay calm in those situations. But then I don't know, I just throughout the day, I thought, and I could go on and on about examples, because there were several that I thought of, but that's not the point. The point is that we both have our strengths. We both know what we're good at in parenting, but also definitely in marriage. And we play to those strengths and encourage each other, and not just encourage each other, but to affirm each other and thank you for being that for him and for being this for our family. And, and I just think that it's real important that you learn what your spouse is really good at, and notice them instead of noticing, God, I wish that she would do this, or I wish that he would do that. I think that God has gifted each one of us in special ways as we walk through our marriage, but then also as we deal with our children. And I think that's the same case for our listeners, that God's gifted each one of you with different strengths, and to play towards those strengths instead of pointing out the weaknesses that we have. Because, I get really, really queasy and lightheaded when my kids are hurting. And so you don't put me in that situation to be the forefront of that. I get to do other things that I'm better at. And so that about me. And so you take over in that situation. Does that make sense? And I know we keep getting back to Logan, because gosh, that's what we're in this moment. But you can take what we're talking about and say, how is that applying to the curveball I'm in, or the storm that I'm in right now? And how can I come alongside my partner, and encourage them, and see the unique ways God has gifted them, instead of seeing ways that they would be different.
Well, you nailed it when you just said you've got to be a team. And I think the best way to be a team when a curveball comes is you know your spouse. You need to know what their strengths are, and don't expect them to be able to carry a part during that, and everybody has to get out of their comfort zone a little
Sure.
bit. I mean, good grief, even in the curveballs that we were dealt with today, I didn't enjoy some of that stuff.
No.
It's just that's what I'm better equipped at, and in the same way, you're better equipped at some things. And so that's where you just sort of recognize that as a married couple, and when the storms come your way, then you lean on each other's strengths to get through it. And again, it could even be a marriage crisis.
That's
I mean,
right.
as bad as it sounds, when you think about, well, if one spouse creates the marriage crisis for something that they've done, well, if you're going to get through it, you're still going to get through it together.
That's right.
You're not going to get through it just one of you.
Right.
And so even in that, where one really may be at fault, you have to come together as a team and say, okay, we recognize what's been done and the harm that's been done, but now as a team, we've still got to get through this. And so you still go off of each other's strengths and make sure that those people are leading the way in those areas. And I think, I was thinking today too, like how easy it is to, when you're in that curveball situation where you're just not, it's the unexpected, the anxiety, it's so easy to just lash out at your spouse and to almost, because like, you want to blame somebody, like for bad things that happen or for unexpected things that happen. It's like, okay, well, somebody needs to pay for this, like somebody. And, unfortunately, most of the time, the only person to lash out at is your spouse. And so it's so easy to just, say something in the heat of the moment, even if you don't really mean it. But it's easy to say it. And like even today, I mean, and I'm gonna tell on myself here. But you took in our car charger into the hospital, and we got back in the car, and you were like,
the phone charger.
Yeah, the phone charger.
The car charger.
Not the car. Okay. The phone charger that goes in the car.
Uh-huh.
And you got back in the car, and we were already leaving, and you said, "Where's the phone charger?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know where the phone charger is. I didn't take it in, And then we kind of were talking about it, and we were like, "Well, I wonder if it just got knocked off the counter or whatever." And so, like, there was a part of me, just because of the whole situation, I mean, I'm in the back, the kids, Logan's in pain. We're trying to get out of town. We still have to go check out of the hotel. I mean, this is a mess. We don't have any medicine. We don't know where to go to get medicine, to get the medication and the prescriptions filled. So there's all this stuff going on. And like, what I wanted to say was, why'd you take that in there? Why did you take the phone charger in there anyway? We had no charger box, nothing. It was just a charger. And so, like, I really almost said, why in the world did you take it in there anyway? But I stopped because I kind of, somebody said to ask the question this week, how do you stop from saying things that you really want to say to your spouse?
Just close your mouth.
And so, but here's what I did. In that split second, I thought, well, if I do say that, then what? Like, we say that a lot. We say, play things out. Then what?
Yep.
Then what? Then what? And I thought, what good is that going to do for me to say, why'd you take that in there anyway? As much as I wanted to. And now we got to drive 5 hours home. We don't have a phone charger, And I wanted to say that, but I was like, what good does that do? I mean, it's not like it was done on purpose or we left it on purpose or whatever. And so when I played it out, well, then what's going to happen? Well, that's going to get you upset. And then all of a sudden, instead of being a team, we're just mad at each other because of something stupid that I could have said.
Right.
And so I just think that it's so important that when those things happen and you're ready to just lash out at somebody, you really have to take a breath and think before you say something.
Right.
Because in the heat of the moment and the stress and, just dealing with the curveball and the things that have happened, you just want to blame somebody. And unfortunately, it's just your spouse most of the time that you're in the trenches with.
That's right.
But the last person that you want to be pit against is your spouse during that moment.
Right.
So just have to be really careful to guard your tongue. And I think that, and I noticed this probably more today than at any other time when we've had stressful situations like that. But we were just constantly encouraging each other. And it is a little bit easy, too, because we have a kid that's quite the encourager. And the whole time he was encouraging both of us. And he's the one with a bone sticking out of his shoulder. So I don't know. I thought about it a lot today just because as we were driving and I was thinking, man, we faced a lot in our marriage and a lot has come our way and we fought through it and we've battled through it. And, if, people I'm sure look at us and go, well, yeah, we hear about your big story and what happened 10 years ago, but man, it just looks like everything's all together. But my goodness, I mean, we could just sit here and list over and over and over all of the curveballs that get thrown our way and all the things that come up, and they're not going to stop.
No.
I mean, we'll have, and so when you recognize they're going to come, and the best way and the only way to get through it is to get through it together. And so, we're tired, we're exhausted, we're worn out.
And this wasn't even what we're planning on talking about today, but that's okay.
Yeah, it just, like I said from the beginning, it just feels like sometimes you just need to go, hey, this is real life, this is what we're dealing with, and I'm gonna bet that other people are dealing with it too. We had a friend of ours that was down there, one of Logan's teammates, they got a curveball thrown at them because they woke up 5 hours from home and their alternator was out. They had to call a tow truck. They had to get a rental car. Then they had to make a quick decision on getting it fixed and the expense that was due.
And they couldn't get the right parts for their kind of vehicle.
Right. And so, so the things that we're talking about, it may not be my wife or my husband just confessed to being unfaithful. I mean, that's a lot of people listen to our show because of that. And yeah, that's a major curveball. But there's just so many things along the way. And so we just want to encourage you, they're going to keep coming, and just be a team. Go use each other's strengths, know each other's strengths, use those to fight those battles that come along. And then really be careful with your words and make sure that you're guarding your tongue during those situations. So a little bit of a different topic today, a little bit of a shorter topic, but we just wanted to come at you with some real life information today. And so this week, when the curveballs come your way, we just hope that this gives you a little bit of ammunition, a little bit of a tool to help you as you fight those battles together.
That's right.
So we hope you have a great week, and we will see you next time.